Hi everyone, I'm Grimdark Jester, and you're on the Grimdark Gamers channel. Today we are going to review Gates of Arkham, an expansion to the 2011 game Elder Sign. Gates of Arkham is published by Fantasy Flight Games and was designed by Samuel Bailey and Richard Launius. Based on the Cthulhu mythos created by the author H.P. Lovecraft back in the 1920s, Elder Sign is one of several games in the Arkham Files series published by Fantasy Flight Games, which put the players in the role of investigators racing against time to stop an ancient and eldritch god from awakening. Originally, the Elder Sign base game saw 1 to 8 players exploring the Miskatonic University Museum, working together to gather Elder Signs and prevent the Ancient One from awakening and destroying all in their path, while dealing with the horrific creatures found stalking the dimly lit corridors of the museum. The expansion, Gates of Arkham, moves the setting from the museum to the infamous town of Arkham itself. Players now get to explore the town, have encounters, fight monsters, and travel to other worlds to collect Elder Signs in their quest to prevent the Ancient One from rising. The Gates of Arkham expansion is a large expansion, which provides players with new locations to explore and mechanics to try out. It adds a number of additional cards to the base decks, providing new common and unique items for the players to use, 8 new investigators to play as, and a brand new skills deck. However, it adds several large new decks which completely replace those found within the base game. 78 Arkham Adventure cards, which replace the adventure cards from the base game, and feature locations such as the Unvisited Isle, Independence Square, and Velma's Diner, all of which will be familiar to anyone who has played the Arkham Horror board game. 30 Mythos cards, again, which replace the base game deck. 25 event cards, a Streets of Arkham entrance card, replacing the base game entrance sheet. 6 gate markers, and 6 seal markers, and 8 membership cards for either the Sheldon Gang or the Silver Twilight Lodge. One of the major differences Gates of Arkham brings to Elder Sign is the adventure deck. Completely replacing the museum adventure cards, the new adventure deck featuring the Arkham locations are now double-sided. When a new adventure appears, players won't automatically know what is required to resolve it. Instead, they only have the information provided on the back of the card. An approximate difficulty rating, green for easy, yellow for normal, and red for hard. The harder the adventure is to complete, the greater the stakes, with better rewards for success, but harsher penalties for failure. Next, the location of the adventure can provide you with clues as to what you will find there. Adventures taking place at Arkham's train station may see you joining forces with an old friend who has come to visit the town, whereas an adventure at Hibbs Roadhouse can result in an encounter with the notorious Sheldon Gang. Finally, each card features an effect that players resolve when they enter a location. These range from effects such as, you may spend 3 trophies to gain 1 spell, to, at midnight, remove 1 Elder Sign from the Ancient One card if able. This adds a new layer of decision making to the game, as you will often find yourself in situations where some adventure cards will hasten the awakening of an Ancient One if ignored for too long. Accessing other worlds is another significant change. Rather than other world cards coming into play as a reward or penalty from an adventure card, other worlds can now only be accessed through gates. These gates are opened through mythos effects or as doom counters are added to the Ancient One card. For example, the first doom token added to Yog Sothoth will open a gate, while the second one will add a monster. When a gate opens, an other world card is drawn and placed face up, then a gate token is placed on an adventure card, and the other corresponding token is placed on the other world card. That adventure is now locked and cannot be accessed until the other world card has been completed, or a game effect discards the token and seals the gate. This adds a new factor to your decision making in the game, as adventures being locked away by gates can cause you to reprioritize your objectives. The next new addition is the event deck. Some adventure cards feature an event icon, which causes an event to occur immediately prior to a player attempting to resolve the tests on an adventure. Some effects are positive. For example, if you fail this adventure, you do not suffer any penalties. And some are frankly awful, such as, if you successfully resolve this adventure, add 2 Doom tokens to the Doom track. Not all of the new mechanics centre around making the game more challenging to players. Now, as players roam across Arkham, they may come across the opportunity to gain membership into either the Sheldon Gang or the Secretive Order of the Silver Twilight. Being a member of one of these organisations can yield extra rewards when completing an adventure, or even allow you to skip entire tests. Despite this, joining one of these gangs is not always a good thing, as some of the Mythos cards target certain gangs with negative effects. As you would expect from a Fantasy Flight game, the components are all good quality. The cards have the linen finish, the artwork is, for the most part, good, and the additional rules are laid out fairly clearly. However, the expansion uses FFG's standard plastic stands to hold the gate tokens, and while these are effective, they do ultimately cause some minor damage to the cardboard tokens. As someone who found the original Elder Sign too simplistic and the theme unengaging, I found the Gates of Arkham expansion to be a much more satisfying gaming experience. It feels like a travel version of Arkham Horror 2nd Edition in many ways, and I enjoyed visiting familiar locations and racing against time to seal gates before the Ancient One woke from its slumber. Even if you are not familiar with the Arkham Horror board game, the effects on the backs of the cards are themed to their locations. For example, being able to gain health back from the hospital and sanity back from the asylum. As with the base game, each of the adventure cards features flavor text, and personally I enjoy reading these when players move to the location to emphasize the theme. I've most often played this as a 2-player game, and it works well as such. I've played with more, and think beyond 4 players, downtime could start to become an issue. 78 adventure cards and 16 other world cards provides a great deal of variability. Combined with the different items, allies, spells, and skills, no 2 games will play the same. If you enjoyed Elder Sign for its quick and lean mechanics, then you may find the slightly longer playtime and additional rules slightly off-putting. Furthermore, this expansion does increase the difficulty of the game somewhat by making Elder Signs harder to get hold of. Gates of Arkham doesn't remove all the pitfalls of the original game. Cooperation between players is in reality optional. If players choose not to help each other or interact, then they could play it almost as if it were a solo game. The game is heavily reliant on luck. It is about rolling the correct symbols on dice after all. The battle against the Ancient One, should you fail to prevent the Doom track filling up, remains unchanged from the base game and is little more than a dice rolling exercise with very little excitement. Even if you win, it does seem rather anticlimactic for what is supposed to be a battle for mankind's very survival. However, if like us, you were looking for Elder Sign, but with a bit more depth and difficulty, this expansion does a great job of providing it. It feels like there is more to do and more to manage. For example, we really need to close the gate to ancient Egypt, but the adventure card locking one of our green dice is making that look unlikely, and anyway, we really need to do something about the at midnight effects on the backs of 2 of the adventure cards. This really adds to the feeling of being against the clock and facing some pretty tall odds. Certainly, when you do beat the game, it is very satisfying. Overall, I would consider this a must-have expansion to Elder Sign. That about wraps it up for this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like. It really does help. And perhaps even drop a comment about what you think of Gates of Arkham in the comments below. If you're interested in keeping up with all things grimdark and to be notified when our next video is released, hit that subscribe button. Until then, thank you for watching.